Hey everybody, this is Mike Bono from the North Andover Athletic Association, and you are listening to the Nightly News Podcast, the show that brings you inside the lines of North Andover High School athletics.
Hello everyone, welcome to this week's edition of the Nightly News Podcast. This is Ala Purdy, and I'm here with Dave Brown, another NAAA board member. Hi Dave.
Morning, Al. Good afternoon. Good evening.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
You hit them all. We're in the evening, though.
Yep. Well, but they might be listening at any time.
That's true. That's true, though. So we've got with us tonight, we've got the track coaches, the indoor track. We have Rick Delakai, the girls' head track coach, and Jason Garente, who is the boys' track coach. We had Coach Delakai in the fall. But if you missed that podcast, we're just going to ask him to just, tell a little bit about himself, how long he's coached, and a little bit of his background.
Sure. Well, I've been a teacher coach at North Andover High for 28 years. Actually, I got my start in coaching, so I've been coaching since 1985, actually. But head coach since 1997.
Wow.
99 for indoor, 97 outdoors. The years seem to flow by here.
Absolutely.
So I've been at it for a while.
Great. Jason, you're relatively new to North Andover High, probably 4 or 5 years coaching at
Yeah, so I've been actually at North Andover teaching this is my 9th year. If I can't believe that, it's gone by quick. And I've been with the team for 8 years. So I've been an assistant coach the past 7 years, and then last year was my first year as a head coach for the boys indoor team, and starting off this year as my second year as head coach, and it's been great.
Great. Where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to high school? Did you compete in college?
So I'm from Saugus High School. Love Saugus. Born and raised there. Big Sachem guy. And then I went to the University of New Hampshire where I studied physical education, and I high jumped for their track team.
Great.
And for those that can't see, because this is, after all, a podcast, Jason does not look old enough to have been teaching for 9 years. I'll just point that out.
I'll say I can't believe it either.
I want to start by going back a year or so. Just from watching and paying attention, seems like you guys won just about everything you could have won last year. For those that don't follow track, maybe Coach Delakai, you could run down what the big ones that you won were.
Sure. Well, actually, Jason's team had a little more success than my team did. He won everything. Mm-hmm. But we went undefeated in the league. We won the MVC championship meet. We won the state relays. And we finished third at the divisional meet. And this guy.
And it was close,
ran
but
the table.
we had a good season last year. We started with the dual meet championship for the MVC conference, and then we won state relays, and then we ended up going back into the MVC championships. We won the MVC championships, and then snuck out a win in divisionals, the D2 states, which was pretty exciting.
Now, as a parent and fan, I have to say that for me, the most exciting and the most fun is the relays. I don't know if if any of them carry more weight than another, but can you speak to the relays? And
Oh yeah, I mean that relay meet is always a lot of fun. It's a track meet that we circle on the schedule every year, see when it is and what time, and we always look forward to that meet. And we've been fairly successful the past few years with it, and hopefully we'll continue that trend. But it's just a lot of fun. We get a lot of kids there to participate in it, which is probably the most fun for me. Just seeing all those kids down there in Boston, and yeah, it's definitely a meet that we circle on that schedule.
Actually, for both you coaches, as a former track parent who was not himself a track person, I was more of a ball sports guy and still am. But I always found it interesting how to try to figure out how to follow it as a fan. So maybe you guys could both delve into that a little bit. Like, what should a fan look for? How do you tell what's going on? How do you tell who's winning, who's not? I mean, I would go crazy at these meets, especially the ones at Reggie Lewis, like trying to figure out what the heck is happening.
Yeah,
It is kind of like a 3-ring circus. Mm-hmm. Actually, it's more than that. It's more like a 10-ring circus. So it's difficult to as a fan follow along in terms of the scoring. Unless it's a big meet. In which they'll give you updates,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like at the relays, after 5 events, they'll give you a rundown, 6, 7, then you get a sense. But it's tough to be everywhere at once, and usually the parents follow their own kids in whatever event they're doing. So if happens to be a shot putter, they're watching that one intently, or a high jumper, that one, long jumper. So there are a million different places to be, and you don't always know how things are going. Even as a coach, you don't know what's happening everywhere because you have a lot of different things going on at once. And it's, you know, it's always kind of exciting and fun, you know, if you're in the thing and there are like 2 events to go and then you're finally caught up with what's going on. You're like, hey, we're up by 2 with 2 events to go, or we're down by 4 or something like that. Then it's, you know, I've had a lot of gray hair moments as a coach in my time, you know, having meets. I mean, the girls' meets invariably come down to the last event. The boys always have the thing won halfway through the thing, and they can just sit back and relax. So I was always envious of Nooch.
It's funny. I remember going to some of these meets, and so I had a daughter, and I was, you know, I could kind of tell what was going on because the rest of the team would gather around, say if high jump was taking a long time, right? And there'd be a lot of people and a lot of yelling and stuff. I go, well, this must be important, right? Because it must be getting near the end, just judging by the time. And all the attention, like, oh my God, this must matter, like, for the results. So that's one way they could tell, I guess.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, we've won a number of them over the years, and each time it's been won differently. All right, I can remember the first one where we didn't really have a competitive 4x4 team. That's the last event, and so we had a lead. So it was a question of just holding on to it, you know, as the teams behind us had competitive relay teams. And I remember rooting for Mansfield, you know, to beat. I forget which team it was.
One of the Newtons?
No, the Newtons weren't in our division back then, but I'm trying to think. Marshfield, maybe, or something like that. Mansfield had to beat Marshfield. And, you know, ordinarily I wouldn't be rooting for Mansfield because there'd be, you know, competition. And sweating that out and being powerless to do anything about it because we really didn't have a team in there. So then I said, all right, the next year I'm going to make sure we have a competitive 4x4 team. If this thing comes down to it again, you know, we're ready. And it did. And it came down to it again. And, you know, we had to, I forget what we had to do in the 4x4, but we did it. And we pulled out a win that year. So, you know, each year it's different. You know, one year Sarah Lavery in the high jump. She had to beat the girl from Wellesley, you know, to one of the girls. They had 2 of them. And she had to split them up. And she was able to do that, and you know we won that meet by 1 point or something like that. And you know it's been very exciting on the girls' side of things.
Yeah, I will say that last year I think it was the first time I remember there was an app for parents. So, it's not official, but you can kind of get if your team.
Yeah, they're getting better and better at the live results
Much
sort
better.
of thing. Yeah, so you can really, you know, tell what's going on. But
so
the early years, it was nerve-wracking.
Reggie Lewis has done a good job with posting live results actually fairly quickly after the events are done too. So if you go on the website or link or whatever, and they'll post live results and times too, right next to your team name or whoever just ran that race. But they've gotten much better with that, which has made it a little bit easier to follow along. But again, you're not always looking at your phone when you're down on the infield trying to coach up a high jumper or get the steps of a long jumper. But
well, that's actually another thing I'd love to explore. That, like, what my kids would never share any of this with me. So even if you said this stuff to them, I would know. But I'm curious what you say to an athlete, right, to help them reach their peak, you know, or their maximum, you know. It's so different for me not being a track person. So for me, it's like, oh, you know, you keep your head down and get that ground ball, or, you know, keep your toe pointed down and kick the ball right. You know what I mean? Like, so what do you do to get the highest high jump or the longest long jump or the extra tiny bit of speed on a sprint?
Yeah, my goal is to just keep them relaxed as possible. I mean, there's like so many kids down there, and it can get overwhelming for these students, seeing all these kids and the pressure that they put on themselves. If you keep them relaxed and keep it nice and easy, simple. Good call, simple.
You have them focus on one thing.
Yeah,
there you go.
You know, and I've seen coaches trying to coach them up, and they're talking about 7 different things, and I'm listening to the guy and I say, your athlete is tuning you out right now because they lost you after, you know, piece of advice number 2. So you try and get them to focus on one thing only, and then they're going to do whatever they're going to do.
I always find it funny that in the longer sprints, the 800s or, you know, those kind of runs, people barking out instructions. It's like, he's sprinting. Like a 2 mile, I get it, as the kid runs by.
Some
you know,
strategy, right?
split,
Yeah.
or, how much off their time you want they are. But, I just laugh at
All you can do is encourage them.
Right,
At that
right.
point. You're not going
Exactly.
to change anything
Right,
as a
right.
coach when they're
Exactly.
running a 300 or a 600.
Last little bit on the relays, just for those parents maybe that are out there that have never been. Just, Rick, if you could just go through just what it's about, like the how it's structured.
Okay,
as a
well,
meet.
first of all, there are 2 state championships at the track in the sport of track, and we consider the relays to be the real team championship because you get more kids involved, right? The state level, you can win a championship with 5 kids. You get the right 5 kids, you can win a state title. And I've had teams way back in the early 2000s where, we literally finished, we were runner up, but I only had 5 kids with me. So that's not your team,
Right.
Right.
It's better when you can get 30, 35, 40 kids involved in the thing. And the relays allow you to do that because every event requires at least 3 or 4 competitors, So like with the shot put, you've got 3 competitors, they add up the total of their 3 throws, and then that's your
score.
distance,
Okay.
right? And long jump, same thing. You've got 3 jumpers, they're each given 2 jumps, add up the total. High jump, again, you're allowed 3 people, all 3 have to clear opening height, or else you're done, you're out. And then every other relay is on a track and it involves four people.
Okay.
And every race is a relay, so they've created, a shuttle hurdle relays. You need 4 hurdlers, you need 50 runners to run the shuttle 50, and then everything else is around the oval and involves a baton. But it really tests your depth as a team, rather than how many top-end athletes you have.
Yeah.
And this was kind of the secret for us in beating Wellesley last year. We were deeper, in certain areas, but then they got us, at the state level because they have top-end
The top,
athletes who are
yeah.
going to win events
Right.
and score. Whereas we have a lot of good athletes, but not state champ athletes.
Sure.
So
Great.
it's a
That
difference.
explains it well.
Do all the events count for the same value?
Yeah. There's sort of a sliding scale. So you have 6 places. So it goes 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, 1 in terms of the scoring. Right? So obviously, if you can finish first, second, or third, those are where you're getting the points.
Right.
Okay, because if you're finishing 6th, well, you're only getting 1 point. It's something, and that 1 point can make a difference. But in order to win these things, you have to have teams that are finishing first, second, and third consistently.
Right. Now, was it last year? You had 2 shot put teams, right? Was
At
that
3.
3? That's
shot
what it
put
was,
teams.
right? It was,
And
they all played?
rewrote the rule book
Yeah.
after that because we had
That
3
won't
of
be
them.
happening this
Right.
year.
And all 3 scored.
Right.
Right. And I petitioned, the meet director. I said, look, I know you only allow A and B teams. I said, but I've got a really deep shot put squad, and I'm convinced that all 3 teams can place. And I said there was a precedent set, back in 2017 by the Central Catholic Boys. They had 3 teams, and they placed, 1, 2, and 6. And I said, I think that we can do a similar thing. Since they didn't have any reason not to, and I convinced them, participation, all this stuff, I really laid it on, they allowed it. But then, of course, that was the difference in winning the meet, and there were some other teams that weren't happy that
Sure.
we had 3 scoring teams in the in the shot put. So I think enough people made enough noise so that
Won't happen again.
they put it in bold this year. We're only allowing
2
A
teams.
and B teams. So
You
that
play
was-
the hand that's dealt.
yeah,
That's right,
yeah.
that's right.
So we were able to take advantage of it for that 1 year, and and I wasn't lying to them.
Right.
We had the 3 teams,
Sure.
and and they all placed. So
Actually, to play on that for a little bit, I remember going when my son was running track. It's 10 years ago now, but there was this thing in the winter season, a second chance meet to qualify.
Yep. Last
Can you
chance
guys
to
talk about
qualify.
that? Because I have to tell you, that is the most exciting thing I have ever seen in sports. Because my son happened to win the 50 in the 50, is it? 50,
Yeah, or the 55.
and he had to run it like 6 times, right? Because they kept, you know what I mean, the way they worked it, they narrowed it down, and I just, it was like, I never thought I'd be that excited to watch an event like that, but it was incredible. And so can you tell everybody
Yeah, sure.
how that works and what it's all about.
Yeah, so there's a last chance to qualify meet, and it happens probably the weekend before states, and it's all these student athletes who are so close to qualifying for that state meet that they want to give them one more chance to do it. So all these athletes that are there, they have one goal in mind, and that's to hit that state qualifying number, whether it's in actually any event. But yeah, you're right. It does get exciting because those kids there are just so driven because they know it's their last chance to do it, and they're so close to do it too. And
Right, so every competitor is pumped up. I mean, I
yeah.
watched all of these events. It was incredible. I mean, I went home and said, I learned a new sport to be, an active fan of. I could never imagine, but you could just see it on their faces, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every event, every kid was like.
Well, qualifying for the state meet is like a mark of legitimacy as an athlete. And that's why they're driven so hard to qualify for that meet, because you're not really considered to be an athlete unless you're going to the state meet, and qualified. And that's the beautiful thing about track. It's both a team sport and an individual sport too. So you have goals, you have team goals, and then you have, or should have, individual goals, and you can be working, at both at the same time.
Sure.
Which is nice.
and you can have multiple too, whether it's a individual goal in a couple different events and a team goal for the conference, a team goal for the state. And there's a lot to track and field, and other than just what most people think, just run as fast as you can, run as far as you can. And there's a lot more to it, and that's why I absolutely love the sport.
The kids, I remember from that experience, then later when my girls were in the indoor programs, I was struck as a parent by what I saw as real true camaraderie there, in both the girls and the boys programs, where the kids really were supporting each other like as well as I've seen in any other sport. So I mean, maybe talk about that, and because you guys they're big squads, right? I mean, there's a lot of kids that participate.
I mean, I said earlier, I've been here for 8 years and in the district in 9, and ever since I've been here, it's been a boys and girls track and field team. I mean, the coaching staff works so well together to keep everyone on the same page, and the kids are working together, whether it's at practice and supporting each other at track meets and things like that. But the culture and environment that's been created for this program has been a strong culture. It's been a supportive environment, and I think that's what leads to our success and leads to the amount of kids that come out for this team. I mean, this year I think it's the second day of practice. We have 110 boys registered and another 78 or 80 girls registered, and it's that team culture and that's been in place for at least since I've been here, definitely longer. But yeah, it's an important thing for that, and I think that's what draws a lot of kids out and keeps them on the team.
Sure. So I'm curious about so say you have an athlete who's not particularly strong, but they somehow you guys have managed to get them to feel like they're part of this program, and that they push. I'm guessing they're pushing the kids that are ahead of them to work harder.
Yeah.
So how do you keep it interesting for those that are maybe never going to score a point or score a point here and there? You know what I mean? Like, how do you make them feel like they're really part of it?
Yeah. So I mean, there are JV meets. There are meets that that high schools do host, which is, again, just as important as the meets that are held at Reggie Lewis or BU or wherever we're going in Boston. But those JV meets are important. There's a couple freshman, sophomore meets that kids can get involved with, and it's the fun practices that you have here and there. It's the pasta dinners or the team outings or things like that really help those kids stick with the program, even if they're not heading to the state level or scoring first place and getting all these points for a specific event. Those are important parts of our team as well.
Yeah, being a no-cut sport, I think, is important, because everybody gets to participate.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, if you're not running varsity, you still have, there are two things working in your favor. One, the individual goal thing that I talked about. And then the second thing is they know the pecking order, all right? And they also know, because I emphasize it all the time, that the lineup this week may not be the same lineup next week.
Yep.
People go on vacations, people get sick, people get injured. And so all of a sudden, you're moving up the pecking order. and you may have been the 6th fastest 55 runner a week ago, but all of a sudden, bam, you're in the varsity meet, and you can score. That's the other thing too. I mean, I have so many hero stories, unsung hero stories where, there's only, a person scored 1 point all season long, okay? But it was the time that they got bumped up, to replace somebody who was out for whatever reason, and we won the meet by 1 point or something like that. So I mean, it's things like that. Those sorts of stories get around, and the track athletes understand that anyone has an opportunity at any time to be the hero. And just having that out there, they know that nobody's ever really labeled JV or even varsity. And just having that sense that I could be in the next meet, I think keeps them going. And then plus the other thing that Jay talked about, pushing other athletes too. You make them feel like they're part of the team. Hey, you're helping this person to become better, and helping the team that way. In addition to making yourself better, you're helping somebody else better. So I tell them to always be prepared to be able to step in, because invariably, especially during the winter season when you get sick all the time, just about anybody can be in a varsity meet,
Right.
And make a difference.
So with 190-ish kids between the two teams, obviously you guys don't do it alone. Can you run down your assistants? And Mike, I'm curious, so does, say, the throwing coaches both boys and girls in that? Okay.
Yep.
So who's working with you guys?
Sure. So we have Coach Varney, Bill Varney for our distance squad is Bill Varney, DJ Sertivin, and Sarah, not Brennan,
No, Vodo.
Vodo.
Yeah, she's-
Just got married. So that's our distance squad right there. We have Sabrina Freilich working the hurdles. Peter Marfione is helping out with long jump. Our sprints coaches, we have Andrea Van Horn and Danny O'Connell. And our throws coaches, we have Mike Miller, Connor Meehan, and Alan Bazinski. And then I'll help out with high jump, and then the boys head coach, and then Dell will be.
We're sort of floaters.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
I feel more like a team manager now than I do a coach, because you have to make sure that you're sort of touching all bases during a practice, just being a presence there, maybe giving a piece of advice or something, or just dealing with administrative stuff.
Sure.
There's so many administrative things that we have to deal with, that it's nice that we have such a large coaching staff, and that's really, I think, the key to our success.
Sure.
Is doing that.
Yeah, that's helped us with whether you want to talk about state championships or that culture and environment, is having all those coaches there to help out with all those 200 kids that are in the gym, just helping them out, letting them know that we're there to help them and view them and talk to them and things like that. And these assistant coaches have been, I've been assistant coach longer than I've been a head coach, but yeah, they're important, and they're very helpful to the success of our program.
Yeah. Every kid has eyes on them, and is given attention every day at practice, and that's the key to retaining the athletes year after year. That each kid is made to feel like they matter and that they're important, and you're not ignoring them. And I don't know what we'd do if we didn't have as many coaches, because with 190 athletes, you need to have as many coaches as we do to run the show. You really do.
Sure.
Well, it speaks to the success of the program, right? And year after year, and you have turnout like that, then obviously doing things right. Kids want to come back, they talk to their friends, they come out, so.
Looking forward to this year. Start with the girls' side. How are things looking?
Well, it's going to be an interesting year, because I don't know what I have right now. I know the level of talent that I've lost due to graduation, and I have a pretty large freshman contingent coming in, and I'm going to need those guys to make an immediate impact. And I think they will, but only 2 days into practice, it's tough to tell what we've got yet. But we have some holes to fill. There's no question about that. And we'll do our best to fill them. We, knock on wood, always kind of have. So I'm hoping we can be as competitive as we always are every year. The program is designed to win championships. That's what we're looking to do. So that's sort of the mentality that we go into each season with. And if we do, awesome, that's great. If we don't, well, that's all right. That's all right too. I mean, you can't win every single year, but you try to anyway. And you set things up so that you're giving yourself a chance. And so we'll see how this season goes. I can't make any bold predictions because I think we got a lot of new athletes who are going to make an impact. But I don't know how great those athletes are going to be at this point.
Who are your captains this year?
All right. Well, yeah, we got a boatload of them. With so many athletes here. So I've got Kate Roach, who's a distance captain, and Sarah Yonchak is also a distance captain. Emma Palmisano, who's a sort of long sprints captain. We got 2 throws captains, Sienna DeSalvo and Annie Lacombe. And who am I missing, Jay? I'm missing one.
Casey Golan.
Casey Golan, that's right.
Okay.
Casey Golan, who's our multi,
Yes.
who does a
Great
lot of
athlete.
different things. So those are my 6.
Good. Jason, how are the boys looking?
I'm pretty excited about the season. Again, last year we were very successful. We graduated a lot of talent last year, but I feel like the talent that we have this year is just as strong as it was last year. So again, like Coach Dell said, we do have some holes to fill. It's going to be a tough season based off of the talents that we lost last year, but I'm confident that we can fill those holes and continue the success that we always strive out to be. I'm excited about this team that we have this year.
Good. And your captains?
So we have distance captains for Cole Giles, Ryan Connolly, and Camden Raylan. Our jumps is Zach Traficante. Short sprints, long sprints, James Allard. Sprinting will be Jimmy Nugent. And I have one more, which is... I'll get back to you on that one.
I get stuff to remember.
Yeah, that's a lot. Wow,
Captains.
A lot of pressure on this podcast, yeah.
that's tough. Now, listen, I just as a parent, having had all 3 children go through that program, I can't say enough good things about it. It's really, and they were not superstars. So one of them was in that last chance meet, and I'm telling you, it's the most exciting thing. One of the very most exciting things I've ever witnessed. So I think you guys are doing great, and you keep it up.
Yeah, absolutely. And for the parents out there, especially freshman parents, go to the meets, get to that. Even if your child's not participating as a freshman in the relays and the state meets, get to them. They're really exciting. North Andover always has a good showing, and you'll be hooked. It'll take you about 40 seconds probably into the relay meet, but to get yourself hooked. But it's a great time.
And going to Reggie is fun.
Yeah.
Or BU
Well, now,
as well.
actually, we were talking to them before you got in, Dave. There's a new facility, the New Balance one over near Warrior Ice Arena where the Bruins practice. That's supposed to be. Now, will that hold all the meets that used to be at Reggie, or will there still be?
So they're actually our MVC championship meet is actually there, and then it's gonna be a lot of fun. Some professionals have set world records on it already. It's supposed to be a really fast track, really nice facility. That's going to be a great experience for our kids. And Nate Jocks was the captain that I missed. Sorry, Nate Jocks.
Nate's gonna be a thrower.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. He'd be helping us with the shot put.
Well, thank you both, and best of luck this season.
Yeah, good luck.
Thank you very much.
Awesome.
guys.
Thank you for having
Appreciate it.
us.